Inkosi sanibonani babukeli sesifikile thina nentandokazi yohlelo ilungelo lakho. It's your right. Mina ke uyangazi ngomajali uMangqolosi ushongololo ngisaba ukulibamba ungangibiza ngoNhlanhlo ngangibiza ngoAlisha. Mbukeli singena nje kulonyaka omusha abathenga abaningi basabhekene nesimo esinzima kakhulu sezimali kanye nalemsebenzi engekho ezweni. Lesi simo ke mbukeli sisho ukuthi abathengi kuzomela ukuthi bayifakele izibuko ezisha le ndaba yezimali. Kodwa ke yini esingayenza ke njengabathengi ukuthi siphathe kangcono imali kulonyaka? Ungasifonela ku 0117146918 or 7146919 consumer@sabc.co.za. That is our contact email. Sikhona futhi ku Facebook. Okwamanje asingene endabeni yethu namhlanje. Mbukela ukhuluma nathi ke kabanzi ke ku Skype ngalolu daba asamukele yena intokazi uSisilebo Hangselebe uvela ke kwi-National Credit Regulator. We are expecting isishoshovi nesazi isishoshovi sethu semali esiba naso njalo ngalonyaka. Ngikhuluma ngayo baba uGerald Mwandiyambera ovela ke ne-South African Savings Institute. We will be receiving him in no time. Okwamanje asamukele uSisilebo Hangselebe. Sisilebo Hang, welcome to Ilungelo Lakho. Thank you so much for joining us and happy 2022.
Happy 2022 ngobulise sisalisha ngibulise nababukeli makhaya.
All right. Sisilebo Hang, I mean, I'm going to get straight to your latest report. I mean, your latest report is actually shocking when it comes to ama consumer numbers. Let me just take a few stats here. Credit Bureau held records of 26.42 million credit active consumers, which was an increase last year of 0.78% compared to 26.22 million in the previous year. Consumers that were classified as in good standing increased by 104,713. That is a figure of 16.25 million. And of course, those consumers which we are talking about today with, of course, impaired records increased by 98,892 to 10.17 million. I mean, these are shocking numbers, Lebo Hang. Who is this demographic that we are saying they are now having impaired records?
So it's consumers at large. We don't really specify them according to different demographics. So it's people that have credit agreements, whether master cards or any type of credit agreement. So they can fall between abanye master cards, abanye furniture, abanye mortgage bonds or vehicles. So it really depends. So we don't really, in the report that you've just read, as it was specify or as it was segment according to that. We just segment them according to the number of months laba abawakolotayo.
And would you say, of course, COVID has been the biggest contributing factor to abantu having impaired records? Because sibonile abantu belahlekelwa imisebenzi Sisilebo Hang since 2020.
Yeah, but we can't really blame it on COVID entirely because last year when COVID started, credit providers and the banks, consumer, remember that holiday period or breathing period with regards to the payment. So that made a huge difference, at least to kuti abantu bangasalele move or banga recorded as impaired or 3 months in areas. So that payment break layer inga delay because if it was not of that, maybe position yama consumer worse than this. So the stats lazy that you've just read, it's for Q3, which is September. So usually during September and the December quarter, which is the festive period, we see ukuthi consumer maningi, they tend to take on additional credit, like more credit.
Okay.
So then obviously after 6 months or 9 months or so, then they will obviously abanye will start feeling the pinch. Obviously with COVID, as you've just said, they've lost imisebenzi abanye abantu ama income wabo bawakhathile. So we are beginning to see that impact as well as we go along, because iqale last year angithi. So it's now that we can really see impact of COVID.
All right, and then Lebogang, let's talk about your projections in terms of Uguti. How soon do you think all these impaired records or consumers, abanama impaired records, what are your projections in terms of research, Uguti? When are they going to get out of the slum? I-recovery rate, sizoqala nini ukuthi siyibonisise njengoba uqeda ukusho manje ukuthi only now you're getting all the subtle numbers?
Yeah, recovery rate, I don't really have that info, but recovery rate looking history. I need for a consumer to get to be classified as impaired. It means uguti uskip 3 or more months of our payments. So ugutu figure you've probably tried ukuluma and ama credit provider. If you have not tried, this is the time that you can maybe go and try. This is the time that you can approach a debt counselor. You mustn't go even into a worse position. So you can still remedy the situation with a registered debt counselor. You can credit providers less, but at least something on a monthly basis, especially for our consumers, our receiver and income, at least not those that were laid off. And a single call to Futuguti, Laba, maybe our retrenching or our cattle, our salary wabo. There's what we call credit life insurance. It also assists because abanyabantu maybe bewengazi ukuthi bebayibhadalela. Aba-check ama credit agreements or ama contracts. Maybe it's there and they've been paying for it. They can then claim from credit life insurance.
Yeah, speaking of debt counselors, we also know Uguti, I know as the NCR, you guys are always saying Uguti, obviously AMA consumers were to need to do their own due diligence when they go into these AMA agreements, because siyaz Uguti, there's hidden pros and cons that are inherent within ilokuzana if you go with debt review. Maybe in very brief, Lebogang Uguti, what are the pros and cons of going into ilokuzana debt review or debt counseling?
Yeah, I think one of the most important thing a consumer needs to understand, Babazongena good debt review, it's what is a debt review? Because when you read a post and you hear people talking, a lot of people basane confusion. So if you understand, it's a debt review, it's a debt relief mechanism. In terms of the National Credit Act, abantu ama consumer asset they are over indebted, meaning income yabo it's not sufficient to cover all their living expenses and other expenses and debts as well. So if you are at that stage where your salary is not enough, we are plus, we are minus, it's still not enough to pay everything, then you are probably a candidate for debt counseling. Into debt counseling, Ugutu uzongena under debt counseling, your debt counseling agreement and my debt counseling agreement will never be the same. So debt counseling, I know Uguti uzongena 2 years or uzongena 3 years. It really depends on income, that particular consumer. If a couple that is married in community of property, it's bazongena boy to under debt counseling. So the income is the determining factor. The amount of debt, it's the determining factor. And if you debt counselor, you negotiate an interest rate that the consumer can pay. And then it's a pro and it's also a con as well. When you are under debt counseling, you cannot be giving any further credit. It makes sense because if now, what you currently owing, it makes sense to at least the ones that you currently owing now, unlike to take additional credit. So into ukuthi abantu bafanele ebayazi because I think that's a one affect abantu ukuthi they cannot get any further credit up until ebaqeda ukubhatala debt review. We've got many consumers abangena under debt counseling baqeda ukubhatala receive their clearance certificate. So it does work if umuntu determination. But there are those consumers, maybe you skipped 1 or 2 payments, or maybe bone problem nyana engane, but you are not really over indebted. Those ones, it's the ones that we encourage them rather to speak to their creditors and make arrangements. Because once you go under debt counseling, as I said, you cannot get out up until you finish paying or up until you receive a clearance certificate. So before a consumer ingena, finally I understand what is this debt counseling about. If I understand it, or if debt counselor is not making it clear, they are welcome ukuthi basifonele ku-NCR sibachazisele kahle.
All right, Sisilebogang Mbukeli uyezwa ke nathi ungasifonela la studio 011-714-6918, alternatively 714-6919, consumer@sabc.co.za. Those are the magic numbers and contact details ikhona ku Facebook. I think we also have a WhatsApp number. I want to give it to you guys. Masibuya la e-breaking. Sisiphapha ngicela ungiphe lo number. Mbukeli wena ungayindawo, we'll be back shortly after this. Welcome back. You're still watching Yilungelo Lakho live here on Umahamba Phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Nami umajali 011-714-6918, 714-6919. Namhlanje ke Mbukeli sikhuluma ngokuthi njengoba kuqala unyaka siyazi abaningi benibambile bayodamuza batitiliza benza yonke into kulifto nama lockdown. Hey, nahamba nokwenza izinto ngezimali kudla ukuthi ke manje ingane mhlawumbe ayisakwazi ukuthi ibuye esikoleni, ingane ayisenayo imali yama school fees, ingane ayisenayo imali yama school uniforms, izinto balekile nawe mhlawumbe awusenayo imali yokuya emsebenzini ungasifonela ke our guests in studio, well not in studio, on Skype is now Babu Gerald Mwandiambira from the National Savings Institute. He is joining us now njengoba desimele alongside intokazi yase National Credit Regulator or NCR uSisilebogang Selebe. Let's welcome Gerald. Gerald, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for joining us.
Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year to all our viewers.
Gerald, I mean, you've missed part of the discussion here. We were talking about basically how a lot of consumers basically saw their records being impaired due to the fact that they lost their jobs due to COVID since 2020. I mean, this must have been quite a rough 2 years for some South African consumers.
Look, Alicia, I think for everyone, the last 2 years have been very difficult. A lot of people have had reduced income or lost their jobs. And as Sisilebogang was saying, you know, some people had payment holidays, but even those have not really helped. We're in a situation where most South Africans have depleted their savings, those who had savings, and many people are having to start from scratch. So 2022 is a year of recovery for a lot of people. But I think what also we've learned through the COVID crisis is the need to save more and also have alternative income sources.
I mean, I asked Bulana Gerald, which demographic as a national credit regulator do they see fall into this trap of always being indebted or, you know, due to whatever reasons arise? And she was like, no, well, the study didn't classify that. The report that we put out did not classify which social bracket or social class rather or demographic was actually falling into this. But Gerald, you and I are very realistic. Let's talk about who was mostly more susceptible to have fallen into debt with all the rigorous warnings that we've given people throughout the years. And they also knew, I mean, right, COVID-19 was quite a surprise in 2020, the national shutdown, that was a surprise. I mean, but we've always advised people to have that extra income and to also have some savings in the bank.
Look, Alicia, unfortunately, debt is like COVID. It doesn't choose victims. It affects everyone. So in my experience, people who are earning a lot of money simply have bigger debts, and those who are earning less have smaller debts. So I would tend to agree with Sisilebogang to say, you know, debt did not choose either the lower income earners versus the high income earners. If anything, the high income earners are more susceptible to debt because they can't catch up. If you're paying a very high bond, you miss 3 months, you'll never catch up. So I think, you know, we're in a situation where The impaired credit should be affecting all income brackets, but obviously we tend to focus a lot on the lower income areas because there's a financial education element where some people simply end up in debt because they don't know any better.
Gerald, let's go into your pigs examples. Let's talk about the types of debts that need to be avoided at all costs in order for people to now try and get themselves out of this conundrum, out of this deep hole of debt that they cannot recover from.
Look, there's good debt and technically bad debt.
Debt, yes.
To me, bad debt is any debt which you're eating. You know, where you're just eating with a fork and knife and there's nothing which is going to come out productive. The good debt tends to be like a property or something or investment in a business which can give you a return. You're putting in money so it can vest and return back to you. Bad debt is consumption. You know, buying a car which depreciates in value or you crash it into a pole or buying porcelain tiles and a TV. That's pure consumption, or simply buying food. So we need to try and focus on productive debt, which is an appreciating asset or a growth asset, such as a home, or even investment in business and hoping that the business does not fail.
Lebogang, let's come back to you. I mean, a lot of debts also, I suppose, consumers amaningi ayithole ese under debts due to also reckless lending on part of creditors. We know that the National Credit Regulator is always advising strongly against this, and we know ukuthi if eventually umuntu ethathi lokhuzana i-creditor yakhe eyise enkantolo and it's found out ukuthi they were the reckless lender, they end up actually losing or that debt being scrapped off. So let's talk about reckless lending by some credit providers as well as reckless borrowing by some consumers. Lebogang.
Yes, so reckless lending is basically when a credit provider consumer credit without doing due diligence, knowing ukuthi consumer will not be able ukuthi ibhadale, but they continue ukumnikeza credit lay. So we've got a few cases with regards to that this year at the NCR. We've been receiving complaints with regards to that. So we do look into it. But we also encourage consumer, you know, complete credit agreement yakho. Kuna section per income, then you also give expense wako.
Yes.
So we encourage consumer to be truthful. Ukuthi ufake truthful information there. So if uphuma family maybe abantu bayi4 and i4 endlini, mara you saying ukuthi grocery izocosta i500. You are not being truthful because in 2022, grocery anyake cost 500 for abantu abayi4 for the whole month. So kusho ukuthi uyafula ukuthi uqualify, but at the end of the day, when you've got the credit, in reality after a month or two will hit now because you won't be able to ubhadale because the expenses we downplay or we decrease on the form. It's not really a true reflection. And then if uyenza njalo, you can't really come and complain or claim reckless lending if you were not truthful. Mara, if you were truthful, wapa information, but credit provider, nevertheless, they went ahead and given you credit, knowing very well ukuthi na salary yakho incane, expense wakho aphezulu, even your credit report shows ukuthi you can't manage, but they still give you, then it can be a case that you can probably win against a credit provider for the reckless lending. But into ebalulekile ukuthi tell the truth when you're completing the form.
Ngezwa ke bantu bakithi kuthiwa niyeke niqamba amanga lapho uma niyofuna loan uthi wena igrocer yakho nihlala no4 endlini ibiza u500 because that is just unrealistic. Well, nawe wena ke umuntu ozobunikeza lowo muntu imali kuthiwa bhekisisa ngoba phela it doesn't make any ethical sense ukuthi abantu abawu4 bangadla leyo mali. So you could also find yourself in trouble of ukuthi wena you are now a reckless lender. Bukeli 0117146918 7146919 consumer at SABC.co.za. Siyabuya emva kwaleli khefu ngayindawo. Bokeli, welcome back. Sisaxoxa ngokuthi wena ke le mali okade uyibhubhudla engathi ibuyele esikhwameni ngoDisemba. Usuzama kanjani ke manje ukuthi uzame imizamo ukuthi uyibuyisele ephaketheni lakho? Ungasifonela e-studio 0117146918 or 7146919 consumer@sabc.co.za noma uhlangane nathi ku Facebook. We've also got that WhatsApp number. I'm going to put it up on the screen as well. Cishe ngakhohlwa ilogo. My guest today ubaba uGerald Mwandiambera from the National Savings Institute alongside Lebohang Selebi ovela National Credit Regulator. All right, so Gerald, let's talk about the benefits of planning before you spend money, even the little money that you have. So say now you're earning about 8,000 Rand a month. You've got a family of about, you're feeding about 5 or 6 mouths and so forth. Out of those 5 mouths, 3 of those people are actually going to school, and then the other ones is extended family that is trying to bring in some sort of income in the family so that everybody's working like, to better the needs of the family. How do you then plan for that 8,000 Rand as the main income, as the main earner in that household?
Look, Alicia, I think 8,000 Rand on a family of that size it's going to be very difficult because the cost of living has gone up quite a lot.
But this is the reality in South Africa, Gerald. It's unfortunately the reality.
Yes, it's the reality. But planning, Alicia, is like yourself looking at yourself in the mirror every morning. Mm-hmm. One of the things I find when I give advice to people is people are afraid of their reality. And a lot of the time, if you're not brave enough to even do a budget and look at your reality, it's more difficult to control your money. Mm-hmm. When you do a budget, it's not about having excess. It's about being able to find control and accept that reality. But I always give this acronym FATE, control your fate. Mm-hmm. So when you want to try and save in that family or where you're earning 8,000, start first with food. Food F. Save as much as you can by buying in bulk and also buying generic brands where possible. Mm-hmm. A is for accommodation. Sometimes, you might need to move in with additional family or rent out a room or back room, put something together so that you get extra income. Or if you can save on that, because FATE are the 4 areas you can save the most. T is transport. With COVID, many of us are working from home, but normally blue-collar workers, it doesn't matter, they still need transport. So maybe you can, join a lift club or see whatever way you can to reduce your transport expenses. And E is entertainment. As South Africans, we know people love to enjoy themselves and get entertainment. There you can always save because it's about sacrifice. Because if you don't sacrifice the E for entertainment, you might need to sacrifice the E for education. Because, sometimes we have been sending our children to schools where we are really stretching ourselves. It might be necessary to downgrade just for a season, because it's that looking at yourself in the mirror, Alicia, which is just saying, you know what? Gaining weight, so I need to go to the gym. It's going to be painful, it's going to be hard, but I'll get better. So same thing with your finances. Things are not okay today. Doesn't mean they'll be that way at the end of 2022. But the reality is we need to start being in that position where we are willing to make that sacrifice. Problem, Alicia, is that we all want to live our best life and the soft life, and then it becomes a problem because with that 8,000, you then go to Avomashonisa, and they lend you 4,000, and then that interest alone is going to end up putting you into severe debt.
I'm glad you mentioned that point, Gerald, about education and stuff, because what I was reading a report, and we were doing an educational show like 2 weeks when we started the show. They're saying that a lot of private school, previously private school going kids are now enrolling into government's non-paying schools. So this is what Gerald is basically talking about, where you are basically having to sacrifice the other E for the other F. So basically, you need to have your priorities straight. Abantwana beni education yabo, i-well-being yabo. Ake sikhohle okonke. So babona mase sinemali. Sisilindelwa eCape Town sakwamukela ohlelweni.
Ndinengxaki.
Account
Standard Bank, writer of Standard Bank, 8th of April.
By writer of, Mama?
ba-reverse imali zonke zibane ndibona kungena reverse interest reverse lena reverse le ngaye ebhenki ndokuqonda into yoba kwenzeka ntoni bathi hayi i-write off le account yakho qha awuzukwazi uphinda uthenge kakuhle ngathi hayi i-right but emveni kwangoko bandithumele statement esibhale 00 bezibonisa ezaa mali zibhale reverse ngokelandelayo u-MBDC ubane ndifowunela qho esithi undifowunela malunga ne-bot account yam kufuneke ndiyibhatale andiyazi ngonto yoba kwenzeka ntoni.
Okay, do you have a bond account wena mama ocinga uba awunayo?
But yi-bot BOUGHT but bandifowunela malunga with my bot account as if bayithengile le account uStandard Bank because uStandard Bank ngimthumelela i-statement esino-00 be-reversile i-interest be-reverse everything kodwa u-MBDC afona with different numbers ngabantu bamfonela every day bendithumele ne-SMS
Okay, so Mam Lindelo, let me get this straight. According to you and Standard Bank, ithi Standard Bank awunatyala awubatyali ndawo but kukho abantu abakufonelayo njalo njalo besithi bafuna ezizimali.
Bathi bangamagqwetha ngu-MBDC.
Oh, okay. Siyabulela ke mama. Sicela ulale lapho kumabona kude wakho. Sisilebohang, what can you advise uMam Lindelwa? What can she do here? Does she still then need to go back to her bank and liaise with her bank? Maybe she needs what does she need from her bank?
Anguzwanga ukuthi umama uthi i-account le ebayirayitha nini off.
Uthi ba reverse wonke amanantsika ama-debts wakhe besithi she's paid up yonke into. So there was no debts, there was no ama-debits run off kwi-account yakhe. But she now is getting calls from ama-nansika, ama-debt collectors, MBDC, bathi bona bafuna e-payments of a certain account, of which she's not even, akayazi nokuyazi that certain account.
Okay, if i-account uthi akayazi, she must just tell u-MBD ukuthi akayazi. And then if it's with regards to leya yase-Standard Bank, kunanento esibiza ukuthi prescription kusho ukuthi i-debt leyo iphelele isikhathi so iya-prescribe so if i-3 years indlulile u-Standard Bank angasho lutho athulile then that debt layer might have prescribed, therefore abafanelanga ukuthi ba-collect on it. So mabamfonela, she must tell them ukuthi that debt has prescribed or akayazi that debt.
Okay, all right, siyabulela. I hope Mam Lindelwa uvile lapho, but if you need further information ungathinta i-National Credit Regulator, ungasithinta nathi la 0117146918 consumer@sabc.co.za or satholakala futhi ku-Facebook uMajali on SABC1 ungayindawo. Siphinde sikwamukele futhi mbukeli, sikhuluma ngezikweletu la ukuthi nina ke iziphi mhlambe iyiphi imizamo eningayizama njengabathengi ukuthi nizama ukuthi ninciphise izikweletu ekadeni inazo. Siyazi ukuthi ade kuyi-festive, siyazi abantu abaningi have been struggling through i-COVID belahlekelwe imisebenzi, so asinilahlile futhi asisho ukuthi abanye benu nilahla imali nje ngokuthi ngoba anikwazi ukuthi nisave. Ungasifonela la e-studio nazi number on your screens. Let's now take uSisinontuthuzelo all the way from eBrits. Ntokazi, ngiyabonga ukuthi ubambile uline, singakunceda kanjani today?
About 5 or more years back, I applied i-debt counseling of some sort.
Yes.
So ikukuthi into yakhona yangena ngefoni bendifonela.
Yes.
Ndangena ke kulo mgibelo ndabhatala abantu benibhatala i-R500 per month.
Yebo.
So ndafumana i-calls namane ndifumana i-calls ke kwi-creditors zami bethi abafumananga mali, abanye bathi bafumana imali encinci. Ndabakhansela abo bantu abo. Ndazibhatalela afresh inantsika zami izikweliti zami until ukuthi ndide ndigqibe.
Okay.
So aba bantu aba kanti apply the credit and ndisafumana i-credit but under i-debt review. So aba bantu kanti bafowunelayo ngopozafowuna bebendifowunela ngazi andisabafumani.
Okay, Mom. Okay, ma'am. All right, mama, ngicela ulalele lapho kumabona kude wakho sisinontuthuzelo. Sislebogang, a classic case here of I think we mentioned it earlier on. Remember when we were talking about the pros and cons of abantu abangena kwi debt review, most of them understand. I think a problem gama utuma she applied for, she got into debt review 5 years ago. She was approached by abantu through iPhone and she was paying, I think, for all her debts consolidated, the amount was 500 rand, but now she says her creditors were like, no, this amount is just simply too small. And then they also complained that they were not receiving the monies that they said debt counselors were supposedly paying into the creditors. And then she says she took over payment of her own debts up until she was able to settle them. And then she says now she cannot apply for new credit because obviously she was in the process of debt review. So now she can't get access to new credit because according to the credit laws, she's still under debt review. What can she do now?
She can contact us, Alicia. She can contact the National Credit Regulator. So we'll just check on the system what's her status with regards to debt review. Because if she says that she has finished, she needs to get a debt counselor who's going to issue her with a clearance certificate.
Okay.
And then they will then also update the system and inform our credit bureaus as well that she's done. So she can just contact us, then we'll check the status, system, what she under.
Okay, so because my understanding, Sis Lebogang, is that you cannot then decide in the middle of your debt review process, you opt out and then you start paying your creditors again. Please clarify that point.
Yes, I mean, we encourage, because once you are in debt counseling, it's
you are
not
bound.
even if when you opt to pay directly to our creditors, the fact remains good, you still under debt counseling. Hence I'm saying good, if you're maybe bebangazwani in a debt counselor, you can get another debt counselor, but nevertheless, she continued on her own. But she still needs a debt counselor, even if it's not the original debt counselor. Only a debt counselor can issue a clearance certificate. So she will need to get a debt counselor who gets a clearance certificate. So under a debt counseling, like, you can't be an orphan. Like ufanele ubane ne debt counselor, because at the end you're gonna need a debt counselor anyway for a clearance certificate, and then also to update our system. And then to update our credit bureaus, our creditors abakbheka on the system, it mustn't show ukuthi you are still flagged to be under a debt review. So she can just contact us, then we'll take her through the process. Abazobheka ukuthi is she really done? Then fanele athole that debt counsel is a clearance certificate.
All right, Sisinontutuzelo, ndiyathemba uba uvilapho bathi a national credit regulator, please contact them so that bezokujongela uba kwi-system what is currently happening, and if you need clearance letters and certificates and so forth, you only get it through them. All right, Gerald, maybe on your side, let's talk about some of the immediate things. I know you spoke about alternative income and businesses and so forth, but what are some of the immediate things that consumers need to maybe start thinking about that will give us some sort of financial relief, because abantu abasalali ikweletu?
Look, Alicia, I think, we need to start changing our mindset as South Africans to being that of, I can employ myself. COVID has taught us that employers can disappear, and we need to now think of ways where we can do some sort of self-help options. And it's difficult because we were educated and prepared for life to look for a job somewhere. And where there are no jobs, we need to try and see how can we make it happen for us. One of the areas which has seen a lot of growth is things like delivery, because people are working from home. A lot of goods which people used to go out and get at the mall or consume at the mall are now being delivered. So I've seen a lot of people buying scooters, and some people even using their family cars for delivery services. It gives you extra income, and it's extra income with something you already have in your hands. It's hard to create extra income when it involves you finding money when you might be in a situation where you lost your job. But if you have transport, look at things like delivery. If you have a computer, for example, try and look at things you can do online, which can allow you to earn income. Remember, we spoke about the E for education. A lot of people are cut back on education. So some of those people who move their children from private schools to state schools, they can afford maybe extra tuition. So you can be teaching children extra maths, extra English, extra science. And some of these things might mean, Alicia, you need to upskill yourself. So it's not automatic that, you know, you're just waking up and doing this. But I think we need to change and shift our minds to saying, how can I improve myself to maybe do training online for something which I know? If I have transport, how can I use that transport to deliver something?
Yeah.
If I have a sewing machine, how can I use it? So let's work with what we have. And I think each of us should go into our house and do an inventory of things we have which can be used to earn income. And if some of those things we're not using, maybe sell it to buy something which can allow you to generate income. There is no hidden formula, but I think most of us have one or two things in our houses which can allow us to earn income.
And also with the digital age, Lebogang and Gerald, just on that point of trying to kickstart your business, we have access to free social media advertising where you can literally just post that this is what I'm selling. I've seen a woman who's selling acha. She literally gives off her location every morning. I'm going to be at this mall. I'm going to be at this mall. And people are literally supporting her. You should see the retweets under this girl's tweets when she says that, you know what, I'm going to be at Midrand Mall or this place. And people are literally saying, can you deliver? You know, they've given a new route, like, can you deliver? Can I send somebody to come and deliver? So mbukeli kuyashiwo ngempela ukuthi don't just sit at home and think ukuthi wena italente lakho or lento okwazi ukuthi uyenze, maybe you cannot do it. Usebenzise leyo social media ukuthi uzame ukuthi umarket business yakho. Gerald and Lebogang, just before we go to break, I wanted to hear a comment from SJ Lamula. He says, yeah, I hear this conversation, but we needed to have this conversation during December. We are actually broke now. So I want your views when we come back now. Mbukeli 011-714-6918, 714-6919. Consumer at sabc.co.za. Umajali will be back shortly after this. All right, Mbukela siqhubeke nendaba yethu. Lebogang, what do you say to that notion that we should have had this conversation in December because people are broke now? And I'm saying, you know, we usually have these conversations in December, but people are not listening. That is why we are coming back with the topic in January. We're checking up on them. Ama-temperature njani emakhaya?
Yes, so in December, from November, actually, we start the conversation, we talk about it. As the NCR, we've got a campaign. We call it Spend Wisely, Borrow Wisely. It's a festive season campaign. We say spend wisely in January so that you don't have to go borrow in December, so that you don't have to go borrow in January. But if you do need to borrow, borrow wisely. Hence, it's called Spend Wisely, Borrow Wisely. But since November, we've been communicating to say, let's save, let's spend wisely, and then let's buy all the January necessities now in December when you still have money. Put some monies now away, let's say. So it's a year in, year out message that we regularly communicate to Nama consumer. So maybe he didn't hear it, but we talk about it often. Usually from November onwards, we start talking about spending wisely.
Mm-hmm. All right. And Gerald, what do you think? Because I know we always try to give this message in December, but people generally do not listen. What mindset should people be having around money, particularly during these tough times in South Africa?
I think now it's about having self-ownership or self-accountability.
Absolutely.
To realize that we can create money on our own. So, for example, if you buy wood for 100 Rand and you build a chair and you sell it for 300 Rand, where did the other 200 Rand come from? You can create money, but you just need to, make that effort. Mm-hmm. One of the things which stops us from making it is pride. Because the easiest way to make money is to get a salary. Because a lot of people who earn a salary will tell you right now they don't deserve that salary, but they are still earning it. So they don't have to do much. Hardest thing is doing it for yourself. That lady who's selling acha, some people are tweeting and they'll be talking behind her back. She's down and out. Look at her. She's selling acha, but she's feeding her family. Same thing with people who are out there handing out brochures for their small businesses. People will laugh at you, but you need to persevere. So I also want that message to be clear that when it comes to you having the right mindset, Alicia, it will take a lot of effort. It's not easy. You'll have to swallow your pride. You'll have to humble yourself in order to generate even that extra 50 Rand a day or 20 Rand a day, because that's how you start to create wealth. Start by saying, I'll make an extra 20 or 50 a day doing this or doing that. But we need to throw the school books out. We need to throw the CVs out and think that this dream of somebody coming to rescue you is still live. You need to say, how can I fix it? And like for Usis Leboka, who deals with people who are under debt review, some people have been blacklisted. I think the encouraging news is that you can fix it. So yes, COVID happened. You've now been blacklisted. You can't borrow. It's a season, but you can fix it. So we need to have more self-help opportunities for people to empower themselves to be their own employer. And I think that's the biggest weakness we found in South African education, that we were all groomed to work for someone. We need to start thinking, how can I be someone who employs other people? How can I employ myself?
Absolutely. Lebogang, maybe let's just take it back a notch. I mean, we were talking about reckless lending and borrowing. I mean, we've all come across, and I'm sure, Gerald, you've seen it, posters on the roads, on the street posts there that says, no credit checks done, blacklisted, welcome. So in that instance, Lebogang, you get somebody who comes to you, they're struggling with their debt, they went to actually get credit from such a lender who says no credit checks are done, even the blacklisted are welcome. Who's going to have what recourse when the need arises for either parties to take each other to you or to court because the other one is not paying?
So with such, especially Lesbo blacklisted welcome, firstly it's a contravention, and usually when you see lama poster our poster yoguma post or in town, they usually don't really have a physical address, or you will maybe find a cell number. If it's on Google, if you type in blacklisted loans, you will see a few will come up, and most of them are not really legitimate. Hence, we're stressing Uguti, when you go and look for credit with somebody who's registered with the National Credit Regulator. So anyone who must give out credit or who wants to give out the credit in South Africa must register an NCR. So it's easier to locate those people. So laba basema internet or Uguma poster, it's difficult to tolerate. The person does not really exist as such as a credit provider. So it's just somebody just sitting on their laptop, because some of them on the internet bazokufuna what we call an upfront payment. Okay. You need to pay them before they give you money, but then the money never comes. So about today get 100 administration, you deposit it. Then tomorrow, I don't know, we've received it. You are one step further, put in another 200 Rand, then we'll finalize the papers. So the National Credit Act is saying, don't pay any monies up front. If you are looking for a loan, a credit provider must give you the money alone. You don't pay anything up front. So those are the red flags. At the minute that you see an advert, ET, blacklisted, welcome, or retrieve credit, or repay this, then it's a red flag. Don't fall for it.
Yes, thank you so much, Sis Lebogang. So essentially, they can report those people, those lenders to you guys as the National Credit Regulator, right? Very quickly.
It will depend. If it's not a registered person or we can't find them, then it's a criminal case. Okay. Then you are your reporter go SABC.
All right. Okay. All right, Gerald, very quickly, your closing remarks. We've got 30 seconds.
Let's empower ourselves. Let's find ways of creating even 50, 100 rand a day, and let's fill ourselves with hope. I know it's been a challenging 2 years, but we can pick ourselves up. I know what it's like to be down and out, but it's with effort and with the right people around you, you can fix your situation.
Thank you. Get those piglets, as Gerald would recommend. Thank you so much, Gerald Mwandiambira, alongside Usis Lebohang Selebi, where NCR. Gerald is from the National Savings Institute in Bugeli. Unfortunately, that is how we wrap the show. Siyabonga kakhulu for ukuthi nisfonele, your participations, zonke izinto enisinike zona. We do have a WhatsApp number. We're going to leave it at the end of of the show. Ukuthi nikwazi ukusendela ama videos uma nifuna ukukhuluma nathi ngetopic esobe sinayo. Let me thank my studio guests as well as nani lapha emakhaya. Sale kahle, yakajala intokazi iyanithanda. Bye bye.